On board one of our last cruises, we sat down with a high-ranking officer who shared with us information about cutbacks. And what we learned was shocking. Hey everyone, what's up? My name is Jordan.
And I'm Jared.
And we are
JJ Cruise.
Today we're going to talk about the top 3 things that cruisers cannot stop complaining about when it comes to cutbacks. We brought these things actually to a dialogue, a conversation that we were having with an officer on board our cruise ship, and we actually learned quite a bit.
But before we get into it, please subscribe to the channel. We are so close to 40,000 subscribers, and you can be the difference to get us over that hump to where we can go on to 50,000 subscribers. And while you're at it, hit the thumbs up. It's free for you to do and means the world to us. If you have been living under a rock, you would not know that cutbacks are the #1 cruise comment or cruise topic that is being talked about in cruise news today. The reason for that is because in 2023, across the cruise industry, there were cutbacks. And a lot of people didn't know why. They had thoughts of this might be because cruises aren't making money anymore. Maybe they need to make up money from the pandemic where they lost years of travel for no one being able to travel during the pandemic. Well, we have some answers today on the 3 main topics, that being the food, the service, and the overall cost of your cruise.
So let's start off by talking about food. We've seen a number of different cruise lines make major cutbacks on their food, whether that is a total change in menu or possibly removing some of your favorite items that you had every single night. We've even seen some things change on buffets. Buffets looking completely different from what they looked like a year ago in terms of how many offerings there would be up in the buffet.
And of course, some people have found the quality to go down. They say that they swear that the food was better in 2022 than it was in 2023. And sometimes they have to pay more for a second item, like a second lobster.
Yes, the lobster comment in particular is one that we hear all the time from not only our own clients, from people that we meet on cruise ships. For those of you that don't know, for several of the big cruise lines like Carnival and Royal Caribbean, they are now charging a fee of $16.99 if you would like a second lobster on lobster night. Now, I'm going to be honest. When I first heard this myself, I thought, wow, this is actually a large price to pay for a lobster tail, which often doesn't come with that much meat. So when we sat down with this officer that we spoke to, it was one of the first things that we asked them about.
We were both shocked by the price of the lobster being $16.99. However, what we found out was that it wasn't to do with the cruise lines wanting to make more money. It was all about the cost of lobster. In 2019, the cost of lobster per pound was $20. Now it is $35. That's almost double the cost for that same pound of lobster. That doesn't mean quality's changing. That does, pound for pound, it is equal. That is shocking. And of course, that has to do with inflation and some other things going on in our world today.
So when you look at it like that, the cruise line is actually just trying to supplement some of the money that they are using to purchase the lobsters. I remember the days when your server would come around with a whole tray of lobster tails and give them out like it was candy on Halloween. When you now realize that it's $35 per pound, that is a very high price, and the cruise line actually is losing money on the lobster regardless of kind of how you look at it.
The next thing that's talked about on every cruise forum as well as on cruise ships is service. A lot of stateroom services have dropped from 2 times a day to 1 time a day, and some people saying that the service isn't the same as it used to be around the ship, whether that's for bartenders or overall crew happiness, whatever it may be. In general, service just isn't the same as what we remember. This is another thing we chatted with the officer about and actually talked to in regards to service across the ship. And the stateroom part is actually because they've had trouble getting crew to come back post-pandemic. Now, is this because of happiness? Not at all. This is all because they had to find other jobs or other lines of work. Some of them even had to learn new trades and now do not want to leave that trade and risk it to come back on a cruise. It's understandable. I think we all can understand that reasoning here. But when it comes to stateroom service, it's in line with the rest of the industry.
The rest of the industry, like hotels, all-inclusives, only give once-a-day service. So the cruise line kind of making a move towards this type of room service, it makes sense to us personally. We do understand your traditional cruisers out there that like to wake up in the morning and have their bed made in the morning, as well as get that turn down service. But for us, this hasn't actually been a game changer really either way. We all had to find different things to do during the pandemic, especially those of us that worked alongside the cruise industry. So we get it. Sometimes people just cannot come back. I do hope and I think that over the next several years, as we see the industry come back strong and be very consistently back, that we will see more and more of the crew return to their ships, and you'll see the service level return back to normal.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of new crew recently on board, and they've been fantastic. So the future is very bright for the cruise space.
Let's pivot a little bit and talk about cost. It's no secret that the prices of cruising have gone up, especially during peak seasons like summer.
When it comes to summer and the holidays, these are peak seasons even before the pandemic and before inflation. But just like food, inflation has affected all goods. There are common goods that are used in staterooms and cleaning around the ship to ensure you have a great cruise that are going to go up as well in addition to your food.
This is the most eye-opening thing that we heard from the officer that we were speaking with. Cutbacks and major changes on board your cruise actually have nothing to do with the cruise line making more money. It has everything to do with things happening outside of the cruise ship. Menu changes have to do with production and food items that they can no longer get their hands on because certain industries have completely changed or offerings just aren't there. Just like that, the prices of things have gone up worldwide. Everything has risen, which means the cost of your cruise vacation is a little bit higher now than it was maybe a year prior.
The good thing is we know some helpful tips if you are worried about your overall cruise vacation costing too much to make sure that it is going to be the cheapest or the best value for your buck as possible. The first tip that we have to recommend is booking early. I'll give you this word of advice because I just booked a client on a maiden voyage of a new ship. They got a suite, one of the top tier suites. Did it right when it came out, and now that it is months later into that process, I just checked the prices and they are double what they were right when those were released. If you can get on cruise itineraries right when they're released, it is a big deal. A big deal, not because it's grand and new and spanking fun. It's because it's a deal that you are going to get some of the best prices, and we all know if for any reason it drops in price, you can always reprice it up until final payment. So you really aren't losing out on anything except maybe a non-refundable deposit. And at that point, that's well worth the cost for a good deal.
The second thing that we would recommend is not only using a travel agent, but asking your travel agent if they have any special rates. Typically, the prices that you see online are going to be the highest prices that you will pay. If you use a travel agent and a good one, they might have some pricing within their agency that will give you a discount, sometimes even a deep discount for that cruise. We've been able to do this actually for a number of our clients. It's obviously per sailing, so it's specific sailings that this is offered on, but it never hurts to ask, hey, is there any special pricing that you can get me for this cruise or this type of itinerary? Because especially when you can be flexible with dates, we can sometimes find you a really good deal.
And the last tip goes without saying, but we have to reinforce it. There are parts of the year that are not peak season. If you can go during the non-peak season, you will have even more bang for your buck. And that's true with any vacation out there. Learn what peak seasons are, learn when are the best times to see those dips so you can get the best bang for your buck and maybe even go on a couple cruises.
Hopefully this video has been very helpful in terms of why cutbacks have happened. I know, again, the conversation we had with this officer was super eye-opening for us, but we want to hear from you. Do you agree? Are some of these cutbacks really bothering you and bumming you out when you're on your cruise? Let us know in the comments below what you think, and if there's a cutback that we didn't mention that you really dislike.
We've been cruising this entire year, and we have to say we would still choose to cruise on any cruise over doing any other type of vacation because we still enjoy it that much. So even though we're talking cutbacks, it does not mean you should not be booking a cruise. They're still fantastic and our preferred way to travel.
That was it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, see ya!